Megadeth. You've just been kicked out of the biggest band in the world. You've got $0 in your pocket, a broken heart, and a soul screaming with rage. What would you do? Most people would quit, but not Dave Mustaine. He didn't just move on, he built a monster faster, more technical, and far more dangerous than the ones who showed him the door. Megadeth. This isn't just a music story, this is the birth of an empire fueled by pure, unadulterated revenge. Fasten your seatbelts because we're diving into the dark, high-speed legend of the man who turned a bus ticket into a legacy. Let's rewind. 1981, Los Angeles. A young guitarist joins a brand new band called Metallica. Dave Mustaine is talented, furious, unpredictable, and insanely fast. He's carving his riffs right into Metallica's backbone. Mechanics, the original version of the Four Horsemen, Mustaine's pen, Jump in the Fire, Phantom Lord. This guy is literally writing the notes that make Metallica, but fitting into Metallica, that's another story. 2 years later, the decision is made. April 1983, Metallica's New York tour. Mustaine wakes up and everyone's gone. They left a note. "You're no longer with us." They put him on a Greyhound bus, New York to California. A 4-day ride, no money, no plan, no future. But something happens on that bus. Mustaine picks up a political pamphlet. A single line catches his eye. The arsenals of Megadeth. Dry political language about nuclear weapons. But Mustaine doesn't see jargon. He sees a name, a band name, a life. On the margins of that pamphlet, 4,000 miles from nowhere, he starts writing lyrics. Megadeth is born on that 4-day ride. Back in California, all Mustaine has is his anger and his guitar. His first move, he finds David Ellefson. Ellefson is 18 years old, fresh off the bus from Minnesota, trying to make it on the LA rock scene. 2 guys, 1 garage, cigarette smoke, broken amps, and that terrifying speed. Metallica was heavy? No. Megadeth would be heavier. Metallica was fast. Megadeth would be faster. Metallica was technical. Megadeth would be on another level entirely. This wasn't a music project. This was a declaration. By 1984, Megadeth is making noise on the LA underground circuit. They're so intense that Kerry King from Slayer actually plays guitar with them for a while. Yeah. Combat Records eventually opens their doors, and in 1985, one of the most brutal debut albums in history drops. Killing Is My Business, and Business Is Good, recorded on an $8,000 budget. And Mustaine later admitted half of that money went straight to drugs. But when that album hit, the thrash metal scene shook. Raw, wild, barely contained energy. Mustaine's guitar, playing like a machine, pushed past its limits, and the world noticed, this guy is back. 1986, Capitol Records, and then Peace Sells. But who's buying? This wasn't just an album, this was a political manifesto, a primal scream of social rage. The riff in Peace Sells becomes so iconic that MTV uses it as their news intro for years. Think about that. A metal riff becomes the sound of mainstream news coverage. Mustaine was asking, if peace is for sale, who's buying? If democracy is a scam, who's getting played? Wall Street robbery, nuclear madness, political lies. All of it in this album, all of it at that insane speed, all of it sharp as a razor blade. Megadeth was no longer underground. Megadeth was entering the conversation. And Metallica? They dropped Master of Puppets the same year. 2 trains on the same track, full speed, heading straight at each other. The greatest rivalry in metal history had officially begun. The fans split into 2 camps. On one side, Metallica, leaner, heavier, more ominous. Lars Ulrich's insane drumming, James Hetfield's wall-crushing voice, Kirk Hammett's melodic but deadly solos. On the other side, Megadeth, more technical, faster, more political. Mustaine doing that strange thing where he sings and shreds at the same time, calculating every note like a machine at full throttle. Which one was better? Wrong question. But here's what we can say. The rivalry made both of them bigger. 1990. And Megadeth creates a masterpiece. Rust in Peace. Critics called it inaccessible genius. With Marty Friedman on guitar and Nick Menza on drums, Megadeth locks into a form nobody had ever seen before. Hangar 18, Holy Wars, Tornado of Souls. These tracks are still technical reference points for metal guitarists today. Mustaine wasn't just writing songs anymore, he was writing a textbook for metal. Rust in Peace was nominated for a Grammy that year. It didn't win, it lost to Metallica's own album. But to this day, it sits near the top of every greatest metal albums list ever made, 1992. Megadeth hits the peak. Countdown to Extinction. With this album, Megadeth breaks into mainstream radio and MTV without losing themselves in the process. That's a razor-thin line to walk. Most bands lose their identity crossing it. Megadeth crossed it, and Mustaine's voice, his rage, his sharp-edged pen stayed exactly the same. It hit number 2 on the Billboard 200. Double platinum. Symphony of Destruction was on every rock station on the dial. The guy who got kicked out had climbed all the way to the top, but no road runs straight. By the late 90s, Mustaine is deep in a battle with drug and alcohol addiction. Then in 2002, a nerve injury. His left arm goes numb. Doctors tell him he may never play guitar again. He has to disband the group. Most people would have stopped there. Mustaine doesn't stop. 2 years of daily physiotherapy, relearning every single note from scratch. Every day, those brutal finger exercises. And in 2004, Megadeth comes back with The System Has Failed. He's back, both arms working, and the riffs are still deadly. In 2016, Dystopia arrives, and Megadeth reminds the world exactly why they're still here. The album wins a Grammy. Best metal performance. It takes Mustaine 30 years to win one, but he wins it, and he gets up on that stage and says, "This award belongs to everyone, not just me." The guy who got kicked out finally holds the biggest prize. In 2022, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead takes Megadeth to number 1 on the Billboard Top Album Sales chart for the first time in a 40-year career. A story that started in Metallica's shadow proves once again that the shadow never quite reached far enough. And then 2026 arrives. January, a cold morning, Mustaine announces the final album, the album that carries only the band's name, just Megadeth, the 17th and final studio album. The career is closing, the circle is closing, but tucked in the back of that final album, hidden as a bonus track, there's a surprise. Ride the Lightning, the track that came out under Metallica's name in 1984, but carries Dave Mustaine's fingerprints all over it. Mustaine performs it on the final album and refuses to call it a cover because his hands are all over that song, his breath is in it. This isn't a return, this is a goodbye. When the internet heard this, it split in two. Megadeth fans said, that took guts. Metallica fans said, that's pure respect. And both were right. Because in metal, you can be rivals, but you don't have to be enemies. Now let's stop for a second and look at this whole story from the outside. The man thrown off a bus in 1983 walks back to that bus stop 43 years later with 17 albums, over 50 million records sold, and a Grammy in his hand. He closes his career with a song from the band that kicked him out. Metallica spent years feeling guilty about it. Lars Ulrich has said so more than once, and what does Mustaine say? He says, "Metallica set me free." Think about that sentence, getting kicked out, becoming free. Getting rejected, finding yourself, getting torn down, building something. Megadeth isn't just a rock band. Megadeth is the purest example of what a human being is capable of when they refuse to stay down. And now I'm turning to you. If something inside you caught fire while watching this, that's not an accident. That's metal. That's the energy. That feeling of growing right in front of the people who said you weren't enough. If this story lit that fire in you, drop a like so this voice carries further. Write a comment and tell us what it did to you. Because this story needs your voice in it too. And share it. Because a metalhead who doesn't know this story is still an incomplete metalhead. It's never too late to meet Megadeth. Dave Mustaine got thrown off a bus in 1983. That bus is a fan of his today. And if you've made it this far, you're not just a viewer. You're part of this story now. Every comment you leave, every share, every person you send this to, that's another seat on the bus. The bus that Dave Mustaine built from nothing. The bus that's still moving, still loud, still faster than anyone expected. So tell us in the comments what's your Megadeth moment. The first riff that hit you, the album that changed something, or maybe just the song that made you realize heavy music isn't noise, it's a language. Drop it below. Because the best part of a story like this isn't the ending, it's finding out how many people felt the same thing when they heard it. Like this video if Mustaine earned it. Share it if you know someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe, because there are more stories like this one. Stories about the people who got knocked down, counted out, and then came back and made everyone else look small. This channel is for those people, and clearly, so are you.